Hey everybody, Aaron J. Anderson here. Today in this video, I just want to tell you guys that I am going to be doing a lot of video content for my YouTube channel with the Fuji X-T3. That's right here. So we lowered the light just to see if we can get the shadows off. Now with the flash off is what you see is what you get. When you turn the flash on, if you wanted to see how I acquired this, it was an amazing story. My last video before this, I'll leave a link in the description, on an amazing person who actually sent this to me with a whole slew of lenses. So it's how I purchased that. If you don't know me, I've been using Panasonic lenses for a while, but recently the Sony A7 III. So since I've got both of these cameras now, this is a dream camera of mine. I never got it because I just felt that the Sony A7 III, for the price, the size, I like smaller sized equipment. I can change depending if I need to, whatever, but I like this size. The Sony A7 III, for the price, gives you probably the best low light, low noise images than any other camera on the market, even today. With at least within its price range and its size and all that stuff. So that's the camera I've been using on video commercials for TV, weddings, magazine shoots, all the stuff that I use cameras for. I've been using this, and it's never let me down. It's an amazing camera. So now I got the Fuji X-T3, and since I've got these both here, I'm going to be basically comparing them to. Mainly, it's going to come down to the feel of the lenses, because we know that the Sony A7 III is going to beat the X-T3 when it comes to low noise and stuff like that. However, I want to see for myself with the lenses that I want to use on either of these systems, on how much better is it? Am I willing to give up? I mean, is it enough to say like, yeah, stick with the Sony A7 III as my main cam because it's just that much better? I don't know. I read a lot about it, but I want to see for myself. And so stay tuned. I'm going to have lots of videos based on this, because I got a slew of I've got like 10 lenses to go through and find out what's the best portraiture lens for me. Was it going to be primes or zooms and all that stuff? So in this video, I just wanted to tell you guys that we're going to be doing more videos on these two. But right away, with my initial thought of the X-T3 compared to the Sony A7 III, as far as handling, my next video will be dynamic range, because that's in low noise. That's where I want to see if this camera is that much better, which it probably will be, but we'll find out. So my initial thoughts of the Sony X-T3 is, when it first came out, I was in B&H actually, and I felt it, and I immediately fell in love with it because it just feels really, really sturdy. Straight off the bat, you could see that the X-T3 is made a whole lot better. I mean, there's no comparison on build quality. You can see the bottom plate on this is all metals of some sort, where this one's plastic. I think this one has this might has an aluminum, or however you say that, a chassis, but the bottom plate is plastic, where this one is just all metal, I believe, through the whole thing, and it feels like that. There's gaskets and rubber through this whole thing. If we even look at the battery door, I don't know if we're going to see this, but there's actually like a rubber pad here, and there's just rubber all inside there. And on the Sony, there is, I don't think there is, let's check. It's just plastic. There's no rubber or anything on the battery door, and that just goes the same with everything. It just feels really, really, really nice. So we'll just go through things that I like better about this over this, and vice versa. So the build quality is just outstanding. The usability is so much better than the Sony, although I don't have problems with the Sony. It's just the X-T3 is better. One of the things I've been doing, and I want to do a video, is I always use my cameras in manual everything until I got this camera, because it gives me some features that allow me to use aperture priority in a way that I've never did before on my other cameras. And so I've been using aperture priority a lot. But the X-T3 beats it, and let me tell you why. For one, I'm not going to tell you my aperture priority settings. It's not the video for it. But when I do have aperture priority on here, I use the exposure compensation dial. I always never understood why would you use that when you can just switch things, but now I get why you'd want to use aperture priority. However, when you want to change your aperture, I can get the aperture priority with my thumb, and that works. That's not too bad. You can see I'm just moving it there. It's not too bad, but it is really hard, which is a good thing, but I can do it and it's fine. This one, on the other hand, I can't quite, I can kind of reach it. You know, I can do it about the same, so that's whatever. But the cool thing about this is when you're in aperture priority and you put this dial on C, that'll allow you to use the front. And that is so much easier to use that. So when you're taking a photo, you just aperture priority up or down, and it's really good, or this way, whichever. It makes it so much easier. So as far as the aperture priority physical functions of this, the X-T3 wins for me because you can map it to the, I think you can map it to the back or whatever, but I put it on the front. Makes it very easy. Little things even like, I don't have none of this written down, sorry guys. The little things too is like the battery door. The battery door on here, when you open this up, you have to open it up like this, right? And when you close it, it doesn't close automatically. You have to snap it. These are just small little things. And on the Fuji, when you open it up the same way, you can just close it. And I like that a lot better. I've had other cameras that do that. It's not like nothing to poo-poo on the Sony for, but just little things, like I said, I'm going to be pointing out where you just close it and it's good. And that battery door is metal. This one is plastic and it feels like it. So little things like that. As far as the physical dials, there was never really an issue with this, although this is so much better. And if you don't like to sit there and change dials like this, you can map all this to where it's an ordinary shutter speed and back and aperture in the front if you want. But I do like having aperture rings on all my lenses and everything. If you don't like that, you can set it up just like you do on this. And for that, they feel basically the same as far as setting up things like that. I do like the two buttons on top of my Sony a little better than only having one that's kind of recessed inside there. It's a little harder to get to that. So for the Sony, I do like those top buttons better. Of course, we talk about real estate. I like the idea of the G9 having a dial here. The Sony A7 III doesn't, but the X-T3 does. So they fill that up. And then you also have these other, you've got these other, where's it at? Can you see me changing that? You've got these other settings right there at your fingertips. Same with on this side. So you don't have to map those to any buttons. They're just there, which I like. The Sony A7 III does not have that. So again, the usability of this is better for that. This front button, the front aperture thing, it's actually a click button. You click it in, and same with the back. And on this, on the Sony, you can't. So that's two buttons that you can scroll and click for different options. And you can set up way more settings to this than you can on this, although it works. There's nothing wrong with it. It works, but this is just better for those purposes. As far as the viewfinder is concerned, this is hands down better than the A7 III. Although you can get the shots with this and it's no big deal, but when you go to this, this has the same resolution as the Sony A7R III. Once you look through that and oh man, it just looks so better. So when I started using this, but you can still get the shots. It doesn't ruin anything. It just looks better. Same with the screens, way higher resolution on this screen than on this one. Of course, we know the Sony only flips like this, whereas this one flips out like this, just like the same. But I do a lot of low shots with like wide angle lenses. Like this is a 24mm f1.4 equivalent lens. And I do a lot of low shots, not even with wide lens, even telephoto lens or whatever. I love that wide shot. And on the Sony, man, I literally, when you got that on the ground, it's really hard to see that, especially in the bright sunlight or whatever. So I would lay in fetus position and literally look through the viewfinder just to see it. Whereas this, of course, it goes like that. And I just, man, I almost modified it. I almost modified my Sony to do that. And I did a quick video on a full flippy screen, but I never found a robust way of doing it. So I kind of poo-pooed the whole thing. But the X-T3 has that. That's like one of the biggest things that I wanted to get an X-T3 for, is that right there. Because not only can you just hold it down like this, you can comfortably just like do like a normal squat. You don't have to lay on the ground. And because this has touch autofocus, you can touch an area and it'll automatically focus, so you don't even have to focus. Where on the Sony, you can move your focus point, but you still have to focus. Not a big deal, but that right there is huge for how I shoot. There's other times I like to get cool perspectives of holding this way up with a 24mm and just getting really cool shots like that. And that is just, that's like night and day for me, where the Sony does not have that. As far as size and weight, they're almost exactly the same size. I mean, they're almost exactly the same size. Now the grip is bigger, so if you didn't have a lens on this would be skinnier or thinner, but most of the time you have a lens on them, so it doesn't matter. So they're about the same size. The weight, you'd have to look this up. Without the lenses on her, I didn't even check, but it's a wash for me. I don't think one benefits the other. Now, if you're like me and you love the Tamron 28 to 75mm f2.8 on the Sony, which is an amazing lens. I heard that this lens is sharper than the G Master 24 to 70. I don't know if that's true because I've never had that lens. Super sharp. And then this one here is the equivalent. This is well, not the equivalent, but this is what I like about this is a 28 to 75, whereas this their equivalent lens in Fuji is a 24. So you're not skipping out on that 24, because a lot of people always say, do I get the 24 to 105 Sony or the 28 to 75? And people say, oh, that 24 makes a difference. And I agree. So with this here, I have that 24mm. But the cool thing too is when you zoom all the way out, it's 82mm. So that's only a couple millimeters off of that preferred 85mm focal length for portraiture, whereas this is, you're back at 75. So you're still a little wider than that average 85mm focal length, right? Now, of course, they're both 2.8, so they're going to let the same amount of light in, but I'm going to do some tests in the next video to see what the background blur is, or the shallow depth of field at 85 or 82 on the crop sensor opposed to 75 at f2.8. We'll see if there's a huge difference. Neither one of these have image stabilization, but this does have this body has image stabilization in it. The X-T3 does not. And that's a controversial thing. Of course, image stabilization is going to help in video or photography for sure. But if you're using it's not going to stop moving subjects. So if you're shooting moving subjects, image stabilization is really not going to do nothing, because you have to raise your shutter speed anyways. If you're using flash, your flash becomes your shutter speed, so you don't have to worry about that. If you're doing video, that's where it's going to be more better to use this. If you're doing high-end, or not even high-end production, if you're doing short films, you should be using tripods, gimbals, sliders, and everything to get cinematic type videos. So I don't know if it's a huge deal, but if you're someone who vlogs and you're just going to hold this camera and walk around with it, image stabilization could help you, although we know that it's not the best. So that's up to you on that. For me, I don't think it matters the way I shoot, but this gets a plus for that. Other things is the joystick on the Fuji X-T3 is, I feel like it's more of a real joystick. You can see it's a small little thing, right? I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's harder to press. Here. This one's a little more squishy. And and it's very shallow, so when I'm moving my cursor around, a lot of times I accidentally press it very easy, where this one I never accidentally press it down. So the joystick on this one's much better, but then you've got all those, you could touch focus in video, you could touch focus in photo mode and all that stuff. So sometimes that becomes obsolete in a sense, but if you like to turn your screen off, this joystick's much better than the Sony A7 III. What else is there? Oh, the one thing there's not too much I don't like about the Sony A7 III, except the little things that I just told you that the Fuji's better at. But the focus point is gray. So when you're shooting and sometimes like, why is my image so blurry? Just to find out that your focus point might have moved down here on your last shot, or if you're using the touchscreen or whatever, and it's gray and you can never find your focus point, which is so annoying, be an easy fix for Sony to do. Whereas on this, you've never have an issue. When you hold the camera up, you know right where it's at. It's like a bright white thing and you never get lost in that. When it comes to eye autofocus, I feel that this is, I didn't use this that much, so I can't go into too much of the features. So let's just stick with handling and stuff. As you can see with both of these lenses on, the equivalent lenses, even though I feel that the focal length on this is better. We'll check out sharpness here in a couple videos, but they're almost identical in size. So wherever this will fit in your bag, this one will too. And you're just lacking image stabilization on this where you have the body, but as far as that's concerned, this lens is heavier than this. This is known to be a light lens, but it's nothing that's going to be like, it's not so much heavy where it's going to like kill you or anything like that, but it does feel a little heavier. We'll go into the lenses later, but this lens is made out of like all metal, where this is one's kind of cheap plastic. So it's like the lenses is just not, it's not even night and day. I mean, this is like so much better. We'll check out the quality later. The on and off switch, I feel like they're both snappy. They're both good. They're both in a great spot. One thing I do know that I do like the shutter button that's more forward. I just feel like my finger rests here. We're on the the Fuji X-T3. I guess if you hold it the way they want you to hold it, like this, you see the bump here, my finger's up here. It's kind of there, but I like the Sony better. And because there's no lip on here, my finger can't hold the camera up. Whereas on the Sony, you could see, there's this bump here. So your finger kind of holds the camera. So I would still put the grip better on the Sony. Battery life, we all know that the Sony is amazing in battery life. I haven't used this enough, but I found that the X-T3, I haven't did much shoots with it. I only did one, basically, of my wife just to take a photo. I thought the battery life wasn't as bad as people say. It's definitely better than my Sony a6000. And most of the time I was just playing with menus and all that, but I'm sure it's not going to be as good as this. Anything else? The viewfinder, did I say about the viewfinder? Yeah, it's so much better than this. Same with the LCD. The ports on the side, of course, when you do hook this up to an external monitor for video, everything works, like the focus peaking and eye auto tracking, whatever you call it. On this, once you do that, it doesn't. You can actually output the information. With this, you can't, so you don't know if you're recording or not. When you're recording yourself with this, you never know if you reached a limit or you ran out of batteries or whatever. With this, it has a tally light on the front that blinks or stays on, so when you're recording yourself, you know, like, hey, it's not on, I'm not recording, what happened? You can go check that out. So that beats the Sony A7 III for that. The eye cups, are pretty good. They're about the same, I would say. This one has a little bit more. Nah, they're about the same. I don't have issues on either one, but the viewfinder or the EVF is way better on this. It's like night and day. What else is there to say about the handling? One thing I will say that I didn't like, but this is no big deal, just maybe if you're out there, the release button for the lens and where you line it up is just awkward for me, being that I shoot with right hand. If you've been shooting with Sony for a long time, it's probably no big deal. But coming from Panasonic and stuff, I just feel weird because it's over here and, oh, that's a tight lens. I just never got used to it where over here, you got the button in the same place, but I just feel like, I don't know, I guess it's just Panasonic might be the same. That's why I feel a little better on that. The button layout, there is a button in the front that can be very useful. This one does not have a button in the front. The shutter buttons this one's better. This one has more of a clicky, like there's two clicks. When you press half, you can't hear it. You can't hear the half click, but it like stops. There's a definite like stop, and then an audible click, whereas on here it's mushy all the way through, so you just never know, you know, I mean, you can go too far, I guess. Not a big deal, but this one feels better. Weather sealing, I said, is better on this. The doors on the side, you can, of course, both of these cameras you can charge up on USB. One thing nice about the X-T3, it comes with a dedicated charger, which the Sony does not, which I do like. Now, we will get into the battery grips. The battery grip design on the Sony A7 III is like other cameras where you have to take the battery door off and you can store it in the battery grip here. This is just an off brand, but you can, the same with the Sony made. And you have to take the battery out because that part goes in, and then you can store 2 batteries in the grip. Well, I like the X-T3 better. For one, when you do add the grip, you get more substantial grip. So that is really, that starts to kind of take away the benefits of the bigger grip on here, where it feels much better with the grip. And it's up to you. You can go small or go bigger here and whatever. But the way this works is you can keep the battery in the grip and 2 batteries in here. And why that is cool is you can go shoot like this, and if you feel like you want to put the grip on, you just put it on. You don't have to take out no batteries or fiddle with any doors or anything. And or if you're shooting like, oh, it's getting heavy throughout the day, you did weddings all day, now you're at the end of the wedding and you don't need this bigger grip, you can just take it off and the battery's there and you can keep shooting. Whereas a Sony, you have to take it out and fiddle with, and then you'd have to take the door out and put the door back on. So for me, it's like I almost, if I don't have the battery grip on to start with, I never put it on throughout the shoot because I'm not taking battery doors off and batteries out, vice versa, putting it back on. Whereas since I haven't used this yet, I can imagine if I want the grip, I just easily put it just like this and just screw it on. So battery grips are much better. And you can have 3 batteries. So I'm going to have to test, is 3 batteries going to be the same as one of these, or I don't know yet, but I can assume that 3 batteries should last quite a long time. The spinny dial on this is kind of nice. I think I like a spinny dial better than on here where you don't have that. But I think with the Fuji, you can use the back dial. So whatever you do here, you do on here. Here you can just spin it. So I think I prefer the spinny dial on that. Okay, so right after I recorded that, I went out to start doing my dynamic range test. And one thing I forgot to choose, and these are just small little things, I know, but the SD cards, taking them in and out of the Fuji is much more smooth than the Sony A7 III. I don't know if you guys had an issue. And like I said, these are just nitpicking of everything that I can think of that's just was a little hiccups for the Sony A7 III. And that is, taking the card out was easy, but putting it back in, it just seemed like it always got hung up on something. And I just had to kind of find it there and then finally put it in. Where the Fuji, it just slips right in. So again, these are just little nitpicking. So if you're watching this, these little things could be issues for you or whatever. So just thought I'd add that. Just as far as just usability, I would say I would go with the X-T3. It feels so much better in that focus point and the touchscreen, everything else. If I just had to go shoot, I would probably take the X-T3 with me. But we're going to look at quality. I don't want to go longer. Stay tuned, subscribe to my channel, give me some thumbs up. And if you want, what I'm going to do right now after this video is we're going to do some dynamic range and low light tests with these just to see how much better the Sony is. So stay tuned, guys. Subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye.